On the night of June 3, 1893, a man named Samuel Redden traded his wife for a horse. Witnesses say the deal was sealed beneath a dying oak on the edge of Trinity Hollow, a settlement so small it never appeared on any map. The woman, Martha Redden, 37 years old, described as heavy, set, quiet and meek, was handed over to the horse dealer, Ezekiel Horn, for one white stallion and a saddle made of Spanish hide. 3 nights later, Martha vanished, and the stallion refused to be ridden. Static crackles. Black screen. Locals said it was shame that drove the Reddens apart. But those who heard the mare's screams in the pasture said shame doesn't sound like that. Trinity Hollow lay outside legal jurisdiction, a frontier of dust and debt, where the county clerk recorded births in pencil and erased deaths in silence. Settlers came here to escape taxes, laws, or sins that refused to die elsewhere. The town's foundation records were burned in a courthouse fire in 1878, yet survivors swore the fire began in the stable loft, not the office. Horses had panicked before the flames reached them, as if they'd seen something no human eye should. The land itself would. Cheap $6 an acre barren soil that refused to bear crops unless tilled with animal blood. That was the local belief, and Old Horn's ranch was the largest supplier of both horses and blood. Ezekiel Horn wasn't born in Trinity Hollow. He arrived after the war between the states, carrying a wound in his shoulder and a Bible written in Latin. He spoke little, drank heavily, and named every horse he broke after a biblical sin: pride, sloth, envy, and the white stallion, redemption. But neighbors whispered he didn't breed them. He found them, strange breeds with amber eyes, nostrils that smoked in cold air, and teeth too flat for grazing. In his journals, later recovered from his barn, Horn described dreams of a woman's voice calling from beneath the stable floor, offering him a body without hunger. When Martha Redden was traded to him, the townsfolk laughed. But Horn's farmhand, Elias Boone, swore that the dealer's laughter stopped the next morning. He was seen digging a second well. They said the well was for water, but the ground there was already damp from the creek. Boone told the sheriff if he heard whispering, like a woman's prayer in a language he didn't know. The next morning, Boone was gone, his bed untouched, his boots outside the barn, and the sound of hooves pacing the dirt where no horse stood. That same week, Horn's horses stopped eating. Their eyes turned milk-white. When Reverend Collier visited, he found the stable doors chained from the inside. In his sermon that Sunday, he told the congregation, "God tests us by offering what we want most, in the form we fear most." 2 days later, Horn sealed the well with stones. On June 6th, a ranch hand saw Horn leading a woman wrapped in a shawl toward the barn at dusk. Her walk was stiff, slow, as though she carried unseen weight. By dawn, Horn was found kneeling by the oak, clothes soaked, hands trembling. He told the sheriff she wanted to ride. Now she won't get off. Inside the barn, the smell was unbearable. Flies clung to every beam. There was no Martha, only the stallion, its hide glistening with human sweat, and a sound that was not quite neighing, not quite crying. Reverend Collier urged silence. The devil preys on scandal, he told them. The congregation agreed, out of fear, not faith. Collier filed no report. Instead, he wrote a letter to the Diocese of San Angelo, warning that foul union has occurred between man and beast, blessed by an oath of blood. The diocese returned a single line: seal what should not be spoken. That letter vanished from the archives by 1901, but one carbon copy remained, buried in the rectory wall, discovered in 1937. After the trade, Trinity Hollow began to rot. Cattle miscarried. Children were born with fused fingers. The creek turned red with rust. Locals claimed Horn's property hummed at night, low and rhythmic, like hooves striking earth from beneath the soil. By winter, Horn hung himself in the stable rafters. They buried him beside the well, but the ground refused him. By morning, the body was above the dirt again, so they burned it. No grass ever grew on that patch again. In 1907, Trinity Hollow's church converted its rectory into an orphanage. The first matron, Sister Aveline, kept immaculate ledgers. Page 47 lists 6 unnamed children admitted from Horn's ranch, their parentage unknown. Notes in the margin: strong limbs, no fear of horses, eyes amber. By 1910, every one of those children had vanished from the census. And that same year, townsfolk began finding horseshoes embedded in the dirt near their doorsteps, still warm, as though freshly forged. By 1915, the railroad bypassed Trinity Hollow. The town emptied, piece by piece. Families left behind barns filled with silent horses, untouched grain, and the smell of sweat on wood. The last surviving settler, Thomas Boone, son of the missing ranch hand, wrote, "They aren't horses anymore. They're waiting." The county declared the area uninhabitable, maps erased it, but in the deed office of Midland, Texas, one ledger remains open, Horn's property marked not as abandoned, but sanctified. A WPA historian named Margaret Quinn visited the ruins to photograph forgotten settlements. She found the rectory intact, and inside, a stone seal carved with a hoofprint and the Latin words, Equum Humanum Sacrum. She brought a fragment back to Austin. Within weeks, she was committed to an asylum for equine delusions. Her journal, locked away, contained one final line before her institutionalization. The bargain still stands, flesh for freedom, bone for burden. In 1948, a short reel surfaced among government archives labeled TRH-093, Agricultural Study, West Texas. The footage, grainy, silent, showed the inside of a stable, empty except for a harness swinging on its own. At the edge of the frame, for a single second, a face appears, elongated, human-eyed, breathing steam. Experts dismissed it as light distortion, but the cameraman, interviewed in 1952, said, "That thing wasn't a horse, and it knew I was filming." A priest named Father Anselm Greer, who served at the San Angelo Diocese, broke silence before his death in 1961. He confessed that Collier's original letter described not a curse, but a ritual of exchange, performed by settlers during famine, the body of a woman willingly given for the strength of a beast, the spirit bound until the debt is paid. He claimed the diocese ordered such rites buried under false sins, branding them as superstition. Trinity Hollow was one of 7. He said the others were successful. Those who study the case describe its core as transference of burden. A husband trades his shame, a dealer trades his hunger, a church trades its faith. Each sin passed on like rains. Martha Redden, in this interpretation, becomes more symbol than victim, an embodiment of suppressed desire and spiritual decay. But her last known handwriting, found on a scrap of linen in the rectory, reads differently. "I am still inside the horse." In 1973, Texas State University researchers recorded audio near the site. No wind. No animals, but at 3:17 a.m., the microphones captured rhythmic pounding beneath the earth. 4 beats, pause, 4 beats. Spectrogram analysis revealed a faint overlay of human breath on the waveform. The researchers left the next day. Their notes end mid-sentence. "It wants a writer again." Repeated requests for church archives on the Trinity case are denied. Clerical notes mention containment success and interrupted lineages. A file labeled Equine Covenant sealed 1903 remains classified. When a journalist pressed further in 1998, the diocese replied, "Those bound by hooves shall not speak." That journalist disappeared en route to Sweetwater. His car was found abandoned, driver's seat covered in black horsehair. By the 2000s, satellite imagery caught something strange, concentric trails appearing overnight where Trinity Hollow once stood. No roads, no people, just perfect circles pressed deep into the dirt, radiating from the ruins of the rectory. Locals who camped nearby described hearing snorting voices, calling their names. Phones recorded hoofbeats where no horses lived within 50 miles. A forensic anthropologist testing remains from the old well-found equine DNA mixed with human skeletal fragments. The bones showed joint structures inconsistent with human locomotion, elongated metacarpals, fused vertebrae. When asked if they could belong to a horse, the researcher replied, "If so, then the horse had lungs the size of a woman's." In 2015, a small Texas museum displayed artifacts from the forgotten frontier. Among them, a rusted horseshoe labeled from Trinity Hollow. Visitors reported nausea, vertigo, and an overwhelming urge to kneel. Security footage that week showed several guests placing their hands on the glass, and their fingers bleeding afterward, as if rubbed raw by rains. The museum quietly removed the item. The curator resigned. That same night, neighbors heard something pacing the halls of the closed building. 4 steps, pause, 4 steps. An anonymous document appeared online in 2019, purportedly from the Diocese of San Angelo archives. It listed a prayer titled Litany of the Mare. To bear the sins of men, we give the body of woman. To feed the land, we break her will. To carry the burden, we trade her name. Until the bargain ends, let her ride beneath. The IP address traced back to Midland County Historical Society, the same office that kept Horn's land deed. The server crashed 2 hours later. Today, Trinity Hollow is nothing but dry wind and scattered bones. But truckers on Highway 20 swear they've seen a white mare running beside their headlights, eyes burning amber, mane thick as human hair. Sometimes she turns her head, and sometimes she smiles. Narrator closing, voice low. Every town has its sin, but some sins were never buried. They were ridden into the earth. Fade to black. The sound of distant hooves continues long after silence should begin.